Hey, Seattle hockey fans, I hope you are fired up because we have at least 4 more games of the Firebirds season. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a really weird game 2 in the Stanley Cup Final and talk about the Winter Classic logo and pre-sale. That's coming up on this episode of Locked On Kraken.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are the Seattle Kraken.
Hey, what do you say, Seattle hockey fans? Welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken. I'm your host, Erica L. Ayala. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily routine. Now, as we talked about yesterday, the Seattle Kraken, our AHL team, getting it done. You love to see it. We were able to get the win against the Milwaukee Admirals, which of course means that we are headed to the ship. That's right, the Calder Finals. This Seattle Kraken AHL team, the Coachella Valley Firebirds, are on their way, and we are so excited. It's amazing. I mean, I gushed over the team yesterday. We absolutely have a fantastic pipeline that we are building. We're going to head over and hear or read a little of what Bob Condor is saying. Of course, everyone really looking at Ty Cartier, but of course, we have Joey Decord, Max McCormick. I mean, the list goes on. Also, Chris Drieger is with the Firebirds right now, but let's take you over to AHL.com. How did we get here? What can we expect? And, I think it's going to be a good one. So, we see here that the oldest AHL franchise, that being the Hershey Bears, will take on the newest franchise. That is us in the Coachella Valley Firebirds. Both teams had to go to 6 games in their conference final. We, of course, won the Western Conference Final, and the Hershey Bears in the Eastern Conference Final. So Dan Bilesma is our coach. Todd Nelson is the Bears head coach. And again, all about development. You've got the Washington Capitals, the Seattle Kraken, and our 2 AHL teams are going head to head. Now, things are going to get started this Thursday, and we expect to have a familiar face join us to break this down, and maybe a few other guests along the way, all to be determined. But you see, game 1 will be at Coachella Valley. So we have the first 2 games at Acrisure. So if you didn't get your tickets yet, now is a really good time to take a look there. Then you see games 3 and 4 headed out to Hershey for that. 5 will also be in Hershey, 6 and 7, if necessary, at Acrisure in California. Now, I want to take you again to just some of the stats that we've been seeing. I know other people have posted this. I talk about this all the time, but I mean, we're crushing it. We're crushing it when it comes to the stats. Cole Lind, Max McCormick. We talked about Max McCormick on a podcast. Alexander True. Just so much that we're getting from our Firebirds. And let's get fired up. Like I told you, there is a running blog that is over on NHL.com/Seattle. And Bob Condor writes, Firebirds Cup Run blog. Cartier's. People are using Cartier's name in ways that don't really roll off the tongue. Anyway, we are headed to the final. I'm summarizing. Top rookie scores 2 goals for Coachella Valley, including Game 6 winner to close out a tough Milwaukee squad. Next up, a chance to win league's Calder Cup. He's already the most outstanding rookie. Scores the game winner in game 6 in the clinching game. I mean, played with us for what was it, 10, 12 games, something like that. It's just great. So you see that this was 10,000 strong at Acrisure Arena, clinched 4-2 series. Alexander True got the first goal. Of course, Max McCormick gets on the sheet. Riker Evans also there. Petrolsky, what a story. We haven't really gotten into that. We'll have time now that we know we're in the finals, so we'll probably talk about that. But just a really great game overall. Joey Decord doing well in net for us. We talked about this before. Want to see him be able to settle in. I think overall, it's just a testament again to what this Kraken team, and by team, I really mean front office. Love what we're seeing there. I think you're seeing that, we have a team that can really do some great stuff here. And that's what we're expecting from them. And of course, I talked about it yesterday. You can't talk about a success at the AHL level in their first full season. Again, we co-parented with the Florida Panthers, with the Charlotte Checkers, but this is our team. Disco Dan, Jessica Campbell, who's been on the show before. This is our team. And I'm really excited to see what is going to come. So Thursday is another game day episode. I'm so excited because you know what? I should have watched the AHL instead of the very weird game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final. I know I have that as the last thing that we're going to talk about. That's because coming up next on the episode, we're going to stick with the Seattle Kraken and the Winter Classic logo. And that's going to lead us into talking about the Vegas Golden Knights. Yeah, Vegas, whatever. We're going to talk about them a little bit in the next segment, and certainly in segment number 3 when we talk about game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final. That's coming up on Locked On Kraken. But remember, we're in the Calder Cup Finals. So we have plenty of AHL hockey to talk about. We have plenty of postseason hockey to talk about as it relates to our favorite hockey team, the Seattle Kraken, and by extension, the Coachella Valley Firebirds. So you're going to want to stay locked on this podcast all week long so you don't miss a thing, including some special guests. We're going to make it happen right here on your only daily podcast covering the Seattle Kraken and Seattle Kraken prospects. That's, of course, Locked On Kraken. And we're going to get to all of that. But coming up right now, I want to talk to you, of course, about eBay Motors, sponsor for the show. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is the perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need a part or an accessory, head to eBay Motors. With the eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit, or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, get the right fit, and at the right prices. All on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride! eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily routine. The everydayers, you know how fired up I am to talk about the Coachella Valley Firebirds. We talked and had Jess Campbell on the show before. She talked about everything is thoughtful with this organization, including that even though they didn't have a woman coach on the staff, when she went out to Kraken Community Iceplex for the first ever training camp where the Firebirds were joining the Kraken, she had a dedicated locker room because it's a woman coach's locker room. And now she will make history, I believe, and shout out to Ann Tokarski for this one, but she will make history as the first woman to coach in the AHL Calder Cup Final. So congratulations, friend of the show, Jessica Campbell. Of course, I come from the women's hockey space, so you know we're going to lean in, if you will, to that conversation and try to see if we can catch up with the team a time or two. But I told you I want to talk about the Winter Classic because some of you know that you probably got an email either earlier this week or, you know, at some point in time so that you could get in queue to get your tickets for pre-sale for the Winter Classic. And there goes the logo, folks. If you joined me on the playback watch party or the watch along on YouTube for Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final, we're going to talk about that. But you heard me talk about the logo. What do I like about the logo? Well, we've got the Kraken colors. As you can see, it fits and it matches the motif we have here on Locked On Kraken, which tells me that, yes, indeed, those are the Kraken colors. Why do we love the Kraken colors? Well, they're the best in the NHL, for sure, but also they have a wintry feel. So we've got that going for us. You've got the nautical elements. You have the water elements that you can see just right there through the rope. Of course, it's in Seattle, so that's going to be fantastic. And then you see that there's the compass. So you can see the compass right there, the compass point right there if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube, no worries. I'll walk you through it. Just through the NIW. So I did that backwards, obviously. The first three letters of Winter Classic. You have a compass needle that is pointing to the Northwest because Seattle is in the Pacific Northwest. Of course, the NHL logo is right there. There is a rope, nautical in theme, boats, nautical rope, cool, that encompasses, if you will, the logo. It is like, again, has a compass feel. And then there's a little frost, if you will, on the top of the rope, which you can see right there. Haha, it's covering my head almost perfectly. So I think it's relatively clean. It's not anything overly exciting, and it pretty much matches what we've seen from the NHL. I don't have the bucket cap out, but those who have watched the some of the playback watch parties, especially when I was a little bit superstitious with the Seattle Kraken, you saw that I had the bucket cap. I was able to go to the NHL All-Star Weekend as a guest, had a great time, caught up with Armando Velez, who I heard talked about our time together at the All-Star Weekend. That was amazing. So go check out Locked On Florida Panthers if you're not already, because in case you didn't know, they're going to need a little bit of help. But again, we'll get to that in the next segment. I think it's a fine logo. Look at it. I'll get a puck or something with that on it. I do think, though, that if the Seattle Kraken team, and whether they're freelancers or staff, I'm not altogether sure, but I mean, even some of the designs that we had for the rally towels, I mean, I'm looking forward to what kind of goodies and treats we're going to see. And, I'm very sad that I missed the first ever playoff game in Seattle because rum was a gift that was given to media. And I plan to make my way out for the Winter Classic against my better judgment. For those who do not know, I absolutely hate the cold. I feel like I probably talked about that a lot as I was getting ready to go to the Beijing Olympics because I knew I was going to be cold. So I got myself a really good jacket and some really good boots. So I'm going to have to get those. My boots are actually still in New York. I got to bring them to Tulsa, have them ready to go. I've got the parka, I believe it's called. See, I don't even know. I mean, I'm from New York. We use bubble jackets, or I guess the North Face jackets, and they are functional because they keep you warm, but they're also stylish. They go with your Timbs, your Timberland boots. That's about the extent of the boots that I needed growing up in New York. Make sure you have something that covers your neck. My dad was always big on that, so rest his soul, but I always cover my neck. As a curly girl, always make sure I have the curls. If they're not fresh, then I'm putting a hat on, and that hat's just going to stay on all day. That's why I like berets, because then I can get cute with it. And then you make sure your arse is covered, if you will, your backside, because nothing's worse than on a cool day, night, whatever, you got a breeze going on there. And then you can't get comfortable. Once that breeze gets up in there, it's just that your legs, your thighs get cold. If you got to walk, I'm a walker. We walk in New York. You're like, why am I saying all of this? Because I think I'm going to have a lot of fun trying to pick my wardrobe, make my way out to the Winter Classic. I've also never been to Seattle in winter. Never done it. It's never happened. Thought I was going to get out there this year, but I go to Florida to cover my hockey games, my women's hockey games. So anyway, all that to say, I'm really looking forward to the swag. They gave us at the Olympics these really cool gloves. Also, I forget what they're called. It's like I'm going to forget. Someone, you like put it over your head, but it's like a scarf, but you don't have to wrap it around because it's not like long like this, but it's just like fits over, like a gaiter. I think they like the warm weather ones are called a gaiter, but I don't know if that's what you call it. I think there's a different word for when it's cooler weather. Either way, they gave us one of those with a hat, with some gloves. They also gave us these, they're very thin. I have them in the other room. I used to keep them in a basket over here, but they gave us these pillows to sit on because the benches, when you sit on a bench, it either gets too hot or it gets super cold. So they gave us something to sit on. I thought that was great. So I told you I need Coachella Valley Firebirds gear. I still do need some, but I'm also going to, we're going to survey the crowd here. What do I need for a Winter Classic game? So that's the logo. We'll keep you posted if Locked On Kraken, by way of me, is able to make it out there. I'm really hoping. It also is going to depend, quite honestly, on my women's hockey schedule. I hope to be asked back. I hope to be asked back for Hockey East. So we'll see what happens there. But I think it's going to be fun. We'll have some fun. Tell me, what is it called? I think there's another word for it, right? I'm pointing to my neck for those listening on audio, but I think it's called something else, not a gaiter. I wish I had it. It's in the front closet, but anyway, we'll figure that out. Coming up next, I alluded to Armando Velez. I can't imagine he's in a good mood because I'm not in a good mood. Granted, it's not that I'm not neutral per se, but I'm not rooting for anyone in this series, in this Stanley Cup final. And I watched the Stanley Cup final instead of the AHL Western Conference Finals. And I'm going to tell you why I think that was a mistake. And it is a mistake. Thank you. What is the, Kraken Canada? Thank you for re-emphasizing that I just need to focus on what we do here. And, let Vegas do whatever they're going to do. If my big, bad, bold prediction doesn't come true, then it doesn't come true. It's going to make it very interesting for the Winter Classic. But anyway, we'll talk about that and more coming up on Locked On Kraken. Hey, what do you say, Seattle hockey fans? We're burning through. We are burning through this episode. I am fired up. That's right. Our Coachella Valley Firebirds will play we start a brand new series, the final series of the season. That's right. The AHL Calder Cup Finals starts on Thursday at Acrisure. You best believe I'll be keeping eyes on that series. We'll be talking about it on the lead up to that series. So stick right here with us. You can listen on any of your audio platforms, including Sirius SXM, where all you have to do is search Kraken and you'll find the Locked On Kraken show. You can search Florida Panthers and you'll find the Locked On Florida Panthers show. You can, I guess, if you want, search Golden Knights, and I guess Locked On Vegas Golden Knights will show up. The point is, the Locked On Podcast Network is found on Sirius XM and, of course, on YouTube. We are doing so great with our subscriptions, but we really want to get to monetization. That's going to make things like traveling to the Winter Classic easier. So if you're not already subscribed to our show, we're going to have another watch party. I think we might do a watch along, though, of the AHL Finals, because I think I might be done with the Stanley Cup Final. And that is because, holy cannoli, what's going on in Vegas? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And I can tell you, this game 2 had a few too many drinks at the bar. You know what I mean? There's that one bar you go to where you get like 5 drinks for like $10 or something crazy like that. I don't know. Maybe they went there. I love that place though, because Vegas on a budget, that's where I go to eat all of my meals and do all of my drinking or pregame. Anyway, we'll get into that. We'll get into that a little bit later. Let's talk about this. Yikes, a doodle dandy. This was a romping, okay? This was an absolute annihilation. Golden Knights score 7. It was a 7-2 score in game 2, and it wasn't particularly close. I mean, it was so loud. It was so loud at the Vegas Arena, or are they at T-Mobile? I'm gonna forget the name. I don't remember where they play. Maybe it's T-Mobile. I physically know where the building is. I just don't know what it's called. Anyway, it was so loud in that building last night, and truly happy for the Vegas fans because it seemed like they were having a great time. But it was so loud there that by the time the Panthers really did score their first and second goals, nobody knew what was going on. The party had already commenced. But let me tell you, things got, as I like to say, picante, aka spicy, on the ice. All you need to know, penalty minutes. The Panthers in this game alone, 84 penalty minutes. 84 penalty minutes. Matthew Tkachuk, I think, got a major for his hit on Eichel. Eichel has talked about it. He did not feel it was a dirty hit. I agree with Eichel. He talked about toe picking or like falling. It was very weird. It was extremely dangerous. I'm so glad Jack Eichel was able to return to the game now. Should he have? I don't know. I guess that's to be determined. But Tkachuk, I think, got a major on that. And then there were a bunch of other penalties because after the hit, everybody on the ice was going at it. And then you see Tkachuk back on the ice. And so I'm like, okay, I guess he didn't get a game misconduct, or like he didn't get a major in a game misconduct. Okay. But then he gets ejected again. And I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. Nor, if I'm being honest, am I even that interested in the explanation? Because from the beginning of this game, oh my goodness, the hits, the penalties that were called, oh, come on. I don't usually complain about officiating one because as a broadcaster, you'd try not to do that. But Eddie Olczyk was on this call, and it was great to hear a familiar voice, see a familiar face. We talked about how we have the best broadcast team in the league. And I knew one thing for sure, that if there was any controversy and if there was anything that needed to be cleaned up, Eddie Olczyk was going to tell it to us straight shooting, no BS, and he was going to give us our opinion on the ridiculousness that was. There was one point in time where there were so many penalties. There were so many people from Florida in particular that were escorted off of the ice that I believe it was Eddie Olczyk said, because it was their second goal. Again, couldn't hardly hear. The game was already gone. Oh, it was so gone. But it was a very nice shot. And I believe it was Eddie Olczyk that said, and we talked about this on the watch along or on playback. He said, it was such a nice shot, or it was a save, excuse me. It was a save. Lyon came in, Bobrovsky got pulled. That's a big storyline. Again, we'll see how that plays out. But I think it was a save, and Lyon made the save, and Eddie Olczyk said something akin to, it was such a good save that the 3 Florida Panthers left on the bench stood up and applauded. And of course, the punchline there is that there are only 3 guys on the bench, because there's, 5 on the ice plus the goalie, 6. It was bonkers. It was absolute. There was like a penalty, and I think an ejection. I know you don't use the term ejection in hockey, but it's essentially an ejection. I mean, every other sport we say the person got ejected, except in soccer or football, where we say they got sent off. Someone got sent off with like 7 seconds left in this ridiculous game. 84 penalty minutes for the Panthers, 64 penalty minutes for the Golden Knights. Face-offs, 52-49. We were talking about that. Angelica Rodriguez joined me on the watch-along or watch party. We definitely talked about that. Shots on goal for the Golden Knights were 28. Shots on goal for the Panthers, 31. Aiden Hill. Aiden Hill's having a hell of a playoffs. And if you remember our roundtable, when we talked about the 4 teams from the Pacific Division, us included, the Oilers, the Kings, and the Vegas Golden Knights, we had our roundtable of hosts. We were talking about goaltending, and who was talking the loudest? Vegas Golden Knights and the Seattle Kraken. And you know what? Both of us got really good goaltending performances in the postseason. So good for them, I guess. Yes, I'm salty because once I make up a decision on a prediction, I kind of like to stick it out. It's not looking good for the big, bad, bold prediction that we, the Seattle Kraken, will win a Stanley Cup before the Vegas Golden Knights. They have a commanding 2-0 lead, and we head now to Florida. But you never know. We'll see what happens. Now, originally, for those who watch or follow us on playback, you probably will see that we have Game 3 on Thursday. We're set to do a watch party on Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final. But now that we know that our Coachella Valley Firebirds are playing on Thursday, we might have to switch that up. So stay tuned, but make sure you do subscribe, hit the notification bell on YouTube, and that'll just clear it up. Because either way, if we watch Game 3 or if we watch Game 1, you will be in the know. Either way, make sure you join us for Friday's episode where we are going to recap Game 1. I am expecting a special guest that can give us some insights, some odds and ends when it comes to what's happening in the Coachella Valley. So that should be coming likely on game day. That's probably going to be our game day episode, but stay tuned. And if you're not already, follow us at Locked On Kraken. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. And of course, we're on Twitter. You can also follow me at elindsay08. That's ELINDSAY08. It's been a thin slice of heaven. Last thing I have to tell you is that we're playing the Hershey Bears. So the Coachella Valley Firebirds have asked that we not partake in chocolate. It's kind of like this is our version of growing a playoff beard. I'm actually going to read this. I wasn't going to do this, but we're going to talk about it. I'm going to read you this email because I thought it was hilarious, to be quite honest. Firebirds call for a chocolate boycott ahead of meeting Hershey Bears at Calder Cup Finals. In anticipation of the American Hockey League's Calder Cup Finals between the Coachella Valley Firebirds and the Hershey Bears starting this week, the Firebirds are calling for a boycott and removal of all chocolate in the Coachella Valley. Okay, listen, I'm happy to not partake in chocolate. But I was not going to remove it from my house. But I don't live in the Coachella Valley, so I think I'm good. That includes chocolate bars, chocolate milk, chocolate ice cream. Oh, man. Chocolate donuts and chocolate chip cookies. They didn't say anything about hot chocolate. But I'm assuming it it probably relates to hot chocolate. I know I'm not the only Seattle Kraken fan that makes a hot chocolate while watching the games. This one might be a little tough for us. Let me know, fam. Are you going to partake in this? Do you believe in it? Let me know what's happening. The Firebirds and their faithful fans are taking a stand as the team prepares to hashtag melt the competition for the duration of the 7-game series, which commences on Thursday, June 8th at Acrisure Arena in Palm Desert, California. Mention the schedule again. Game 1 is Thursday. Game 2, Saturday. Those are home games for us. Game 3 and 4 in Hershey, PA. That will be on Tuesday and Thursday, June 13th and 15th, respectively. We'll see what happens for Father's Day weekend. Will we be in play? Game 5 set for June 17th, Father's Day, June 18th, Monday, June 19th, Game 6, and then Wednesday, the 21st, would be Game 7 if necessary. We'll keep you up to date, but you know what I'm going to say? You got to hold fast. You got to stay true and get fired up. Because in this house, and we don't all live in the same house, but in this house of Locked On Kraken, we root for the Firebirds. So be kind to yourself, be kind to each other, make smart choices when it comes to chocolate, and I'll catch you on the next episode of Locked On Kraken. Peace out, everybody.